podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets are taking the lead on the power play with 23 seconds remaining. As Oliver Bulldog pushed through Grant Bartlett, 1-on-1, and Everton has been beaten, and 58 seconds into the opening.
Oh, you gotta give it that pop to it. Spit all that time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome along to Zero Pucks Given, a live episode. As I said in the description, I'm trying some new technology out. If it doesn't work, please let me know if you can't hear me or see me. I think it is live. I have just had a little check via YouTube on the phone, so I think we are good to go, and we are getting out there to some people. Well, welcome along. As I said, Zero Pucks Given. My name is Ben. I'm your host for this evening. Thank you so much for everyone who's been with us since the start. We're coming up to almost 2 years now of Zero Pucks Given. We're now on episode 106, which is that we've been flying through. And what we're gonna do tonight is gonna run through all of the news that came out from England ice hockey regarding all of the conference divisions of the NIHL, so we know who's going to be in what division, how it's going to go, how many games they're going to be playing and whatnot. We're going to run through it all, and then I know there's been a couple of questions that have been online. I have today spoken to England Ice Hockey, so I have answers to those questions, which obviously we all want to know. First of all then, the little bit of housekeeping. As you can hopefully see in the bottom corner down there, if I get my left and right correct, we are in partnership with the Hockey Art Co. Hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount off of everything site-wide at hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10 to get your 10% discount. However, today you have got 4 hours left to get 20% off today, because the blackout edition of the Hockey Art Co merch is out today. It's new for July. It's really, really good looking stuff. You can personalise it with your own name, your own number, your year of birth, whatever you like. Mike can sort of take care of all of that for you. And today you can get 20% off of that if you use the code July. So make sure you go and check out Hockey Art Co once we're finished here, of course. And we are also part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, the largest sports podcast network in Europe. Over 450 podcasts spread across 18 different sports all across Europe, and the newest member of that is part of the ZPG network, which is ZPG Ice Maidens, which is brilliantly hosted by my friend Adam Mackman from Ice Maidens. He's been part of the women's ice hockey team ice hockey scene for quite some time, streaming the games live, providing commentary on them, and he runs the icemaidens.wordpress website where he collates all the stats, all the news, all the results. It's fantastic work for the WNIHL. Last week we had the first episode of the PlayOff reviews came out, and that was about the under-16s in Division 2. This week we've got Division 1 coming out, so if you want to get the latest news, all the review, all the action from the women's PlayOff weekend, that is the place to get it. And let me tell you, it has been a little while. Obviously we do things very, very quickly here. We're normally out on a Monday after a game weekend that's just happened. It's been about 4 weeks, and I'll tell you for why. If you listen to that Ice Maidens episode, you will understand why. The work that Adam Mackman puts in is absolutely astonishing. The audio is incredible. He's even scrolled through all of the live feed videos, and he's got all of the commentary from the goals, so they slot into the match reports. It's absolutely fantastic. I messaged him the other day. I said, honestly, I cannot believe just how great it all sounds and the work he puts into it. So please check out ZPG Ice Maidens, and you can find them all over Instagram and Twitter as well at ZPG Ice Maidens, and their episodes will be going up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you subscribe to the Zero Pucks Given YouTube channel, where we are right now, you will also find them there as well. Not video form just yet, but just audio form for you to listen to. And of course, as you can also see in the bottom left hand corner there, we are also in partnership with Manscaped, and you can still get 20% off of all Manscaped products at manscaped.com when you use the code 0pucks20. 0pucks, all one word, all caps, 20. And you can get your Manscaped products there, getting yourself all trimmed up for summer. Right then, let's get absolutely cracking. If someone could pop a little message in the chat just to make sure that you can hear me, because I can see there's a few people in. So please, do just let me know if you can hear me, so that I know that I'm not just sat here talking to myself, as I normally am on most Monday evenings, especially when the season's in. So I'm going to start with a lot of the signing news, because I think a lot of the clubs have been, particularly in the Britain division, which we're going to focus on, obviously, because that's sort of where we live here at ZPG, is in the Britain division. Some of the clubs have been fantastic with the social media, the teasers, some of the sort of humorous little elements that they've been putting in for their team announcements. It's been really, really good. We've seen a few retentions. We've seen, again, as I did say that I thought we would see, we've seen quite a few players coming from the National League and dropping into that Britain division, which is really great to see. It's just going to improve the quality of the hockey that we're watching week in and week out. So alphabetically then, which we start for the Britain division, is now a slight change. We start with the Cardiff Fire. Their first announcement then was that their sort of player coach was returning. Ellis Shepherd, he's returned, and I've spoken directly with him, and we'll be getting some coaches' thoughts as well for the podcast for next season from Cardiff. So that's really, really fantastic stuff to hear. We're going to get such a sort of broad range of content coming on ZPG for the next year or so. So it's going to be absolutely brilliant. They then announced as well, so they'd signed Tom Stevens from Oxford, as the Oxford exodus appears to continue. Lewis Stevens, their captain, has returned. Lewis Lunn, Bailey Hind pitcher, who joined from Oxford last season. Surprised that no one picked him up in the Britain, but he's back there now with Cardiff. To continue the Oxford exodus, Danny Williams joined there. Danny Williams also confirmed as being a guest for ZPG 3.0 next season as well, so that's fantastic that we'll see Danny. And then Chris Kazyanovs has joined also. I think that is a re-signing for them, for the Cardiff Fire. And then just today they announced they have signed William Thurlbert, who is a Cardiff-born player, so I believe he actually might have been living in Canada for quite some time, joining from the Ontario Hockey Academy. But William Thurlbert is the latest signing for the Cardiff Fire. So they're putting together quite a competitive roster for next season, which is going to be really, really good to see. And I know some people already messaged me and said they're really looking forward to that trip to Cardiff, down the M4 and across the Severn Bridge. So now we will jump forward slightly alphabetically to Chelmsford. Chelmsford have announced a few retentions and one new player. There's sort of going through it. There's not been a great deal of suspense or anything from Chelmsford, no teasers or anything like that. But the first one that they announced was Jordan Lauday, and not only is he signed for next year, he's signed for the following year as well. So Chelmsford have locked in their netty for 2 years, which is really, really good to see. Jordan was on ZPG just towards the end of the season, just before the playoffs last year. That was a really, really great chat. He's a really nice young fella, and he's doing some fantastic stuff with his goalkeeping academy as well over the off season. They also announced that Jay King had been retained as well. So Jay King had a great year last year at Chelmsford. Really, really great to see him come back. And then someone I think every Chelmsford fan knew was coming back, but you always need to see the little announcement. TJ Fillery, little dynamite little winger. He is back. And of course, the wonderful Caroline Fillery doing the 50-50 raffle as well. Another retention was Dan Hitchens. Dan Hitchens kind of cleaned up at the end of season awards for Chelmsford, taking players player and coaches player, which is that's the two awards that any sort of athlete would want to win. So yeah, brilliant for Dan Hitchens to be staying at Chelmsford. Ollie Baldock was also retained. Incredibly successful year last year. Since he's come back to Chelmsford over the last couple of years, really has settled himself in, and last year was on an incredibly sort of fruitful line with Damon Porter, who we await to hear the outcome of where he's playing, and Holden Barnes-Garner, who has also been retained by Chelmsford, which is another really good retention. The other one that I think was a little bit, people were wondering what was going to happen because he was announced as being the head coach of the Romford Junior setup, is Alan Lack, but Chelmsford have confirmed that their captain is returning. We're not entirely sure as yet the amount he'll be available to play. He's certainly going to be a busy boy. There's Obviously, the possibility as well that he could come up against some players that he's coaching when Chelmsford play Romford, which he's already said he'll be giving them little digs and he'll be making sure that they're doing everything that he's told them to do on the ice. So we look forward to see that. And a new player that has been announced for Chelmsford this year is Mikey Power, has joined from the Romford Raiders, which I think a lot of Chelmsford fans are really excited to see him slot into that roster and then start almost kicking it off from where they finished off last year, winning the playoffs. I think the players that have stayed have all mentioned they want to now push on and they want to try and win some more silverware at Chelmsford. We'll move through to the Invicta Dynamos. If I do get my alphabetical order wrong, someone please do tell me. Invicta have been incredibly busy over the summer. I think on our last episode we did run through a few that they'd signed. They obviously locked in Carl Lennon. They had to lock in Carl Lennon nice and early, so the head coach is back in. Then there was a lot of retentions. Dan Scott, Regan O'Neill, Tom Saw, Ruskin Springer-Hughes, James Laming, Oliver Bronyman, who will also be a guest on ZPG 3.0. Harrison Lillis, Joe Stevenson, Owen Ryder, all retained. Michael Stokes also retained. New signings in the pipes, Brad Winterbank, which is a good signing to have two netminders of that quality with Owen Ryder and Brad Winterbank. They're certainly going to be well stocked up in the pipes down at Invicta Dynamos. Cameron Pywell was another forward signing for the Invicta Dynamos. That's a really good one. Looking forward to seeing Cam skating in the Britain division. And then a really, really top D signing that they've made. When I spoke to him a week or so ago when it was announced, I said, you really are testing the love that Chelmsford fans have got to you by playing for Streatham and now Invicta. It's Callum Burnett has made his way down to the stables in Gillingham, and he is the latest signing for the Invicta Dynamos. The next one, relatively easy, the Oxford City Stars. The only thing they have announced so far is that Mark Saunders is their new coach, former Romford Raiders, Chelmsford coach as well. Raiders 2 coach, Chelmsford Streatham Blackhawks coach. He's taken the role up at Oxford. I know he's really excited about it. He's got an incredible contact book. So I think some Oxford fans have been worried, some haven't been worried. There's been a little bit of sort of few jibes coming from other clubs and other fans from other clubs that they haven't announced anybody, and obviously a lot of their players have left. I think from speaking to Mark when he took the job, this is going to be a young side. They're going to try and be competitive. He said that playoffs was going to be their target. We'll get onto a little bit later why that's just been made a little bit harder for them. But I think it's going to be a tough year for Mark, but I think he's got it in him to get them all running. Oh, we did just skip over going to Oxford there. We just skipped over the MK Thunder, who have made a lot of signings as well, and quite a lot of retention. Sorry if you see me looking away from the screen, it's just because I've got my phone up here as well. I haven't quite mastered the dual devicing of live streaming. So they have announced... Oh, we've pressed the wrong button there. They've announced the return of James Cox in defence. They've also announced Charlie Conroy, Don Wealthall, the wind-up merchant, he is back. Elliot Davis is a good signing. Josh Hickman and Kieran Hickman, brothers there. Kieran in the pipes, roller hockey goalie, so that's going to be an interesting one to see how he gets on the ice. Sam Purcell has returned. Ross Duguid in as an assistant coach as well. Mark Austin has returned, and Harry McGarvey has also returned. And a really good signing they've made from Solihull Vixens is Maddie Wright. She's going to be stepping up and playing in the Britain division. Last year the only female player doing that was Ellie Wakeling, so that's going to be really good to see another female player playing in the Britain division. We will move on. MK Thunder, Oxford Stars, NRP, doing all counting. Now I think we get to all the S's. All the S's. So we will start, just because they've appeared first, with the Slough Jets. Now when we spoke on the last episode, we know that Slough Jets, they locked in a lot of their young players for 2-year contracts. So we know the Moore boys, they're locked in for 2 years. Jacob Minter is locked in for 2 years. And that was all done before the end of the season. Connor Redmond has been locked in. Jacob Soper has also been locked in. Billy Newman joined from Streatham, which was a really good signing for Slough. Alex Cole joining from Solent, which is another really good signing. They are really putting together some sort of roster. They did announce a few outgoings though. Roman Cathcart, who has gone to Streatham. Adam Erskine and Ty Cathcart, who has gone to the Bees. Harry Hatfield, Timo Lindgren, Ollie Hemmings Mayer, Dylan Holliker, all retained. Luke Smittle retained, and Lewis English as well. Charlie Ottewell and Bradley Hildreth have parted the Slough Jets. Bradley Hildreth, I think, has been picked up by Haringey Huskies, to my memory, in the Wilkinson division. So Slough really getting a strong roster together there. The Streatham Redhawks then, sort of multiple champions from last year, won virtually everything that was available to them. They've also had quite a few retentions, but they have had a little bit of an exodus, as we discussed on the previous episode. So the first one they announced was leaving was Brandon Miles, who of course has gone to Slough. So they're incredibly active on their social media, so scrolling through to find their player retentions is quite hard. So Ziggy Beasley retained, Danny Milton retained, Sam Waller retained, Jared Lane and James Warman also retained. They retained Preston Toombs, and then there was a lot of new ones. The Roman Cathcart signing from Slough, Harvey Steed as well from the Bees, as well as Brendan Baird. Ryan Watt announced as staying as well, so they've kept their captain. Luke Brittle also re-signed, and then George Norcliffe was signed from Romford Raiders. So again, a really strong roster that they were putting together there. Also joined by Thomas Skokan re-signing, and of course Henry Aitken that was just announced today, and Jordan Gregory was another retention in there as well. So Streatham virtually got their entire roster together. I'm sure they will add a few. Solent Devils are another one who have been incredibly busy getting all their signings in for the off season, and a lot of retentions. So Alex Cole, the big one that was sort of stepping away, but they signed Tom Banner, who had a good year last year. Really, he sort of settled in at Oxford quite quickly, but then left halfway, went to Basingstoke Buffalo, ended up becoming a playoff winner there. But Tom Banner has now joined the Solent Devils. Alex Murray, of course, retained the Mr. Solent himself, so he will be the player coach still there again. Kane Russell retained, Dan Lackey retained. Alex Cole obviously announced as leaving. Jack Hops from Streatham was a new signing for the Solent Devils, and an interesting one. Look forward to seeing him ice down there. Harry Cloutman was also retained. Steve Osman, of course, he parted, as did Liam Coleman, and we'll find out where they've gone in just a second, because they'll be the last alphabetically. Rory Martin Edwards, he re-signed, as did Aaron Taylor, as did Mark Duffy as well. So they've still got that little core of netminders. I know they struggled last year to actually keep all of their sort of roster available to them, which was possibly played a lot of part in their inconsistency, was that they couldn't keep the same team together. But nevertheless, they obviously always do a good job. I'm sorry, I'm getting the chat up on the phone. Yeah, Scutsy, thank you. You can confirm Hildreth to Haringey. The chat's not appearing on my screen as I hoped it would be. So yeah, so I'm still learning. With players dropping down a level, National 201, it's going to give a good drive for youngers going in the other direction. Richard, it could well do, to be perfectly honest, because if the gaps are there, and obviously we've seen when we get to Romford haven't really announced any signings as yet, but announced that they will be competing in the Britain division. We know obviously one player they lost was Brindley Caps, and he's skipped National altogether, gone to the Elite League, 3-year contract. As I understand it, won't be playing two-way. He will be getting minutes at the Coventry Blaze. He will be given a place on one of the lines, and he will play, is my understanding. So yeah, I think it does, because a lot of the issue with the national one, the national guys coming down to the one, is the level of commitment, because the travel to Scotland, to the northeast, to the northwest, from anywhere in the country that they're playing. So there is an awful lot of travel involved. There's going to be an awful lot of games next year as well. So what we could see is that, again, we'll get to this news later on, but the roster sizes have been up to 30, so they can have a really, really big team, because people are not going to be available every week. Because last year we were getting teams having a weekend off, 2 weekends in a row off, 3 weeks in a row of just Saturday or just Sunday, and then everyone could be available for it. But if we're going to be looking like pretty much September to April, 2-game weekends every weekend, there's going to be times where not everyone's available. So yeah, that will certainly work, I think, for those. But yeah, Romford, as I said, they've announced that they will be competing, but they've not announced any signings as yet. But their biggest outgoing, of course, Brindley Caps. to the Elite League in the Coventry Blaze. So let me got too much stuff going on here all at once. Let me live chat, see if I can come up that way. Yeah, I'm still learning. I know Anthony Russell has got this down, but I'm still very much learning. So Harry Cloutman signed. Harry Harcup also signed down at Solent Devils. Harry had a little spell at Chelmsford a couple of years ago. Then he was playing with the Bees in the National League, playing with the Buffalo last year as well, actually. Again, a playoff winner. Looked quite good actually in the playoffs for the Buffalo. Interesting to see him play on that small rink, because he is a tight player. He likes to keep his work quite tight. That might suit him. Playing down there. It'd be nice to see him go there and really put some points down. Chris Necrosavicius nailed it. He was also retained by the Solent Devils. Travis Penny, really good signing this. Travis was one of the highlights for Oxford last year. Bagged a couple of hat-tricks, I think, or maybe just one hat-trick, because I think he only got 6 goals in total in the league. But really did look dangerous for them. Obviously, playing in quite a poor Oxford side, you had to sort of stand up and be counted. And Travis did that, and his reward for that is a move down to Solent. And again, that small rink could really help his playing style. Charlie Wedge, really good prospect down at Solent. Charlie Wedge has been retained by the Solent Devils. Oliver Clackett, beg my pardon, Ollie Clackett has joined the Solent Devils from the Solent Devils 2. So this is, the thing they've got down there at Solent. That's showing that that's working. I know that Alex does a really good job down there. Sorry if you can hear some banging in the background. My next door neighbour's playing basketball. I may have to shut the window. So, some more retentions. Mason Wild retained for the Solent Devils. Callum Perella-Fox also retained and given the captaincy after the departure of Alex Cole. So, the Swindon Wildcats then, also in Swindon Wildcats 2, obviously announced into the Britain Division. They announced their entire roster all in one go, which we read out word for word, on the last show. So, we won't do that again. But the big ones, obviously, we know that have moved from other teams in here, mainly really just for convenience, because I imagine they live kind of closer. Steve Osman and Liam Coleman from Solent, they've made their way to the Swindon Wildcats too, as has Brett Massey in the pipes from the Slough Jets, and Brett will be on ZPG 3.0 in the new season, so that'll be really interesting to hear how Brett's season went with Slough and now the move to Swindon. One of the things I really want to ask him about is the playoff final. He was dressed, playoff semi-final rather. He was dressed. He didn't start. It was he wasn't really like a healthy scratch or anything like that. He just wasn't on there. So yes, Tom Banner to Solent, Richard. Yes, I did just clock that one, I think. So that is all the teams, all the signings, all the rosters, which obviously they'll be adding to. As I said, the social media teams for most of the sides are doing a really good job, especially at putting the teasers out there, because that really gets a little bit of interaction going as well. So we will look at the news that came out. The last live episode we did was because it was the Friday before they were having this big meeting, so that they were going to just knock the camera there, you don't want to see me underwear hanging. They were going to be having the annual meeting to discuss everything of how it was going to go down. We already knew at that point that Cardiff Fire and Swindon Wildcats 2 were joining the Britain Division, so it was going to be a 10-team league. It also had the addition of the Leeds Knights 2 in the National 1 in the Moralia up north as well, so it all had to be discussed. What came out of it is pre-season starts August 24th 25th weekend. Normally teams will set up a challenge game against a team in their own league. Obviously you need that challenge of that level. It's pretty pointless playing a team from the league below unless you're kind of the lower ebb of the league and the top ebb of the league below. That can make quite an interesting game. I think Haringey and Romford actually played a really good double-header pre-season friendly last year, which was quite good. The season due to start then the following week, August 31st and September the 1st. Obviously the fixture's not been out yet. Chelmsford had actually announced that they will be playing a charity game against the sort of a Legends Chieftain side on Sunday, September the 1st. So whether that now has to be moved if league fixtures are put on that day, we wait and see, but we are still awaiting those fixtures. I do imagine they'll be coming relatively soon, next week, hopefully. The national playoff weekend is going to be the April 12th and 13th, 2025, and the Division 1 National Championship will be April the 20th at Coventry. So, now then we get onto the sort of the roster sizes and whatnot. So non-British trained players, the MBTPs or imports for everybody else, that has been dropped down to 2. We thought it would be. It has been dropped down to 2. But both can play on the ice at the same time. So anyone taking in a import netminder, Petr Cech for example, not been announced where he's been playing, although in all honesty I think he's going to end up at Belfast Giants this year. It won't be an issue. You can have your 2 imports on the ice at the same time. So I think that's fantastic. It's not going to have a detriment to any of the English players that are growing up. It's just going to do them a really good favour. Roster sizes, maximum 30 senior skaters, unlimited goalies, unlimited juniors. That is absolutely fantastic. Get the young kids in there, get them playing with the experienced players, get those experienced players helping with the coaching. Everyone will move forward. Absolutely brilliant news. Playing up, under 23 players, unlimited play up. Absolutely brilliant stuff. 3 is the magic number. All games in the NIHL 1 and 2 for next season will be 3 points for a win, 2 points for a win in OT or shootout, 1 point for a loss in OT or shootout, no points for a loss in regulation. It is about time really that this country got into line with the rest of Europe. Mr. Anthony Russell revealed this exclusively on Banners on the Wall last Wednesday. We are going to the 3-2-1-0 system. I think that's absolutely brilliant, especially it's going to really force teams to go for it in regulation, particularly when you get to the end of the season. If it's quite tight on points, 2 won't do it, 3 will do it. You might see goalies getting pulled when you're tied. I think it's just going to create all sorts of excitement. Really is, I think, a really good move for the divisions. Right, we'll move into the North, into North 1. Their league schedule, 36 league games. They're also a 10-team league, so 2 away, 2 home. The Morley Cup will be teams split into 2 groups of 5. The first 5 league games, home and away, counts to the Cup knockout games, which will take place in January and February, the semi-finals, onto the final. Exactly the same in the Britain division. Split into 2 groups of 5. First games, home and away, they count into that little league table. Then the top 2 from each group, 1 plays 2, 1 plays 2. Semi-finals, final, Cup winner. Brilliant. No extra cups. Just these cups, because obviously we have those extra league fixtures as well. In the North, very different this. So in the North it's going to work differently to the South for playoffs. In the North, the top 8 teams qualify, 2-legged quarterfinals, 2-legged semi-finals, then the winners go on to the national final weekend, which we'll come to in a little bit. But that is slightly different to how the South is going to be doing it. I had seen some people ask questions online, why is the North different to the South? I have spoken today to England Ice Hockey and they have informed me because that's what the clubs wanted. The clubs in each league, they were given 2 or 3 options. This is how you can work it, pick any one that suits you. The North felt they wanted to go for top 8, quarters, semis. The South, they went a slightly different way. So, it's going to be the same league and cup thing. So 36 league games, 2 home, 2 away, lot of league games. So that's 8 more than it was last year, which, you know, that's 4 weekends. So that's pretty much weekends off out of the question. No South Cup this year, so just the Britain Cup, which is going to be exactly the same as the Morley Cup in the North. 2 teams of 5 play each other home and away for the league, counts to the league table, then you get semi-finals and your final, January, February. So February the first trophy is up for grabs. The playoffs, however, in the Britain division, top 6, not top 8, top 6 qualify. 2 groups of 3, which one would imagine will be one sort of tiered. Whether they might draw it randomly or it could be seeded, but that we don't actually know yet. Then 2 groups of 3, you play each other once home, once away, so that's an extra 4 fixtures as well. And then the top 2 sides will qualify for 2-legged semi-finals, so you get your home and away semi-finals. I think, in all honesty, we did speak in our review of the season last year. This is what the owners wanted, because playoff weekend is great, but the owners are losing out on massive revenue by having the semi-finals and the finals over the same weekend. What they've done now means that the playoff finals weekend will just be finals, and the teams will get to have semi-finals in their own venues and creating a little bit more thing. Sigala, thank you. Yes, Swindon 2 have announced their roster. The main side have announced that Dylan Lipsey will be on a two-way and spend a majority of his side with the national team. So yeah, Dylan could ice a bit for Swindon Wildcats too. So yeah, good to see some two ways. I think that's the idea, isn't it, of having the 1s and 2 clubs in different leagues. Get the players on two ways, get them playing, particularly with the younger guys, so that under 23s can unlimited play up. So yeah, thank you very much for that indeed. In the North, it's going to be slightly different. For North 2, teams split into 2 regional groups, so 2 home, 2 away in each group, 1 home, 1 away in the other group, so 26 league games. They are going to do, again, something slightly different. The Laidler Cup will be 2 groups of 5, exactly the same as the Morley and the Britain Cup, but their playoffs is going to be top 8 teams qualifying, and then 2 groups of 4 play 1 home, 1 away, with two semi-finals, home and away legs. So they're doing something slightly different in North 2 as well. South 2, they've gone pretty straightforward. 22 league games, 1 home, 1 away. The Wilkinson Cup split into two groups of 6. The first home and away counts as that, and then we get the knockouts in January and February. Playoffs, top 8 teams qualify, 2-legged quarters, 2-legged semis, winners on to the finals. And the way that the finals will work: divisional playoffs, semi-finals will all be played home and away. Finals weekend, 1 single venue for all 4 divisions. This will be Coventry, middle of the country. Everyone can get there. It's an elite league rink. I think, personally, for me, I think it's a brilliant idea. So the finals weekend, Saturday will be the divisional playoff finals, 4 games. North 1, North 2. Very clever. Get those North games in first, because in all honesty, that first game is going to have to face off at about 10, if maybe even slightly earlier, but 10 a.m. You'd be silly to put the South teams on then. So, I mean, in all honesty, it could end up being something like a Blackburn or a Whitley Bay, so, or Widnes. It's still a long way to travel, but it is what it is. You can't really please everyone in that aspect, and Coventry is about as central as you can get for the country. But that's the way that they've said it's going to run. So North 1, North 2, South 1, South 2, divisional playoff finals. The following day, you will have 2 games. Playoff winners from Division 1 North and South will play, and the playoff winners from Division 2 North and South will play. So that weekend will give you national playoff champions, which I think is absolutely terrific. It's something that I thought maybe could happen pre-season this year at Coventry, to have sort of Chelmsford against Blackburn and Buffalo against Billingham Buccaneers. I thought would be a really, really good sort of experiment to do. But this way, we're going to get that all in one weekend, which is absolutely terrific. And as I say, having spoken to England Ice Hockey today, I'm sure he won't mind me saying I spoke to Hayden Hunter. He was incredibly helpful. Hayden has also agreed to come on the podcast for ZPG 3.0 as well, so we'll be getting a little bit more of an insight into how things work at England Ice Hockey, because obviously we have had what's the name? So we'll jump back a little bit. I don't think the messages are coming through quite as quickly on the thing as they're being typed. Yes, Sigala, the coaching team that was announced at Swindon. Obviously, Jan Kostel Jr. is in that roster. His dad is now one of the coaches. We're not sure whether they'll get to ice together. That'd be quite interesting to see. And Shannon Taylor, of course, Ethan Taylor's dad, he will also be assistant coaching as well, having moved over from Oxford. So yeah, that's all the roster stuff. But yeah, all the new stuff that's in there. What do you guys think? Because I think they've actually done a really good job here. It's, as far as say, I've been speaking to Hayden today. There's been a lot of negativity, I think, with regard to England ice hockey. Again, the main negative point, no point sugarcoating it, it was DOPS. But we don't exactly know what's going to be happening with that yet. We do hope to receive news of that relatively soon. But I think everything they've done here is incredibly positive, and they've listened to what the clubs have asked for, and they've kind of then given them solutions to vote for, and the clubs and the league separately have all voted their own way. At the end of the day, you're going to get the same outcome, but this is just what works for each individual league. So it's a pure democracy that the clubs have said, we want it this way. England Ice Hockey have said, you know what, you want it that way, you have it that way. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be brilliant. I mean, in all honesty, as an experiment last year, I thought the playoff final idea was brilliant. Putting the divisions all together, having a really busy day of ice hockey, I think it was great. But I think this could be truly special. Just picturing that Coventry rink absolutely rammed full of fans all day, over 2 days for 6 fantastic games of hockey, where you're going to get, playoff champions on a Saturday and then national champions on a Sunday. I think it's really, really terrific for the game. So yeah, whatever you guys think, I think this is also a democracy. This is not just about my opinion. This is also about your opinion as well. So fixtures meeting in 2 weeks. They're waiting on the National League. Cheers, Scutsy. So I would imagine then probably end of July. Then we might find out where everyone is going to be playing this year. Excellent stuff. Right, yeah, that's all. So that's all the news. Let's just check that nothing has broken whilst we've been on the air here. It's I don't mind doing this live thing. Actually, I might possibly, as we move into the next season, obviously we'll still be doing our roundup episodes on a Monday and our interview episodes that will be coming out on a Wednesday. Could possibly do a little sort of a Friday update just to build up little 20 minutes live on YouTube, just building up to what's coming on. We have had a little bit of breaking news. Charlie Ottewell is going to the Solent Junior Devils down in the Wilkinson division. Announced as obviously departing from the Slough Jets. That's not too far from Charlie. Sort of Bracknell based. He's one of the learn to play coaches at the Ozone Rink. So that's not too far for Charlie, and that will get Charlie, a little bit of regular hockey as well. I know particularly in the playoff semi-final, I don't think he actually came on until the last few seconds. Only played a couple of shifts. So yeah, that'd be good to see Charlie getting some ice time down there alongside his coaching duties at the Ozone. You can check Charlie out on ZPG from last season. Really, really good guest. Really, really nice lad. So yeah, I really did enjoy chatting to him. Actually, we covered quite a few little bases because he had a little bit of a gap playing, just for his own mental health. Really, he took a little bit of time out of the game. For someone so young to kind of realise that that's what he needed to do, I thought that was really incredible. So it was a really interesting chat with Charlie, and well worth going back and having a look. So, and as I said, yeah, he's a coach at the fantastic Ozone facility, which I cannot wait. Playoff groups ones will be seeded. Yes, thank you, Joe. I thought they might be. You can't really do a random draw otherwise. What's the point in working hard to get your league position? So, again, just scanning through for any breaking news. Obviously, we've had Glastonbury this weekend, and it actually stayed dry. Wimbledon is now in full flow, and the football, of course, if anyone's into that. I find it a bit boring these days myself. Actually, when you're into hockey, you find football a little bit on the boring side. So there doesn't appear to be a great deal that has broken this evening. If anyone has got anything that they want to do chat about, put it in the chat, and we'll see if we can cover anything that you guys want to talk about, which is lovely. Something I did want to mention, and something I did want to bring up, is obviously on Thursday. Yes, Richard, I thought Ali Pay did put on a great show. And I'll tell you what I've actually found as well, from watching the videos, watching the things of the live stream and all of that venue just looks incredible on camera. It's an incredible venue, and I was really impressed standing up in the gantry and looking around, thinking, one, this is full of people and it's brilliant, and two, it just looks incredible with the stone and the windows. I thought it was an unbelievable venue. It was a really great experiment, and I think it worked, but I think this is a good experiment as well, and I think it could work. Right, I'm just catching up now. Sagala, Coventry is the capital city of British hockey at this point. It absolutely is, and I don't think they'd argue with you either. As I said in the last episode, I'm kind of a Coventry Blaze fan by proxy, just because of my good friend Scott Finley, who's one of the hosts over on 3on3 podcasts that cover the Elite League. And Scott and I also have hosted a boxing podcast as well called Packing Punches. But yeah, I think the Blaze are going to do something in the Elite League next year. It's kind of been a closed shop, isn't it, between Bristol and Sheffield and Nottingham occasionally poking their head in. But I think Coventry are going to do something next year. Regarding the difference between South 1 and North 1 playoff format, if I'm not mistaken, Leeds 2 is the only second who share their rink with the main side, so top 8 is a lot easier for them compared to South 1. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there, because when I was told that it's how they voted for it, it was because of what worked for them, of availability, ice time. Obviously in Britain we had this sort of problem towards the end of last year that the games weren't getting played because there just wasn't ice time to do it. Obviously Milton Keynes share their rink with the Thunder, the Lightning, beg your pardon, playing in the National League, so that did create an issue. Who have MK, Swindon, Romford, Cardiff and Slough, who all share a rink with the second team. Granted, Jets aren't a better team, so it'd be easier for sharing. Yeah, so 2-6 will be easier. I also think as well, it just creates a lot of jeopardy. And jeopardy is what we want to see, because over the last few years, you've got 8 teams in that division. All of them qualify for the playoffs. Doesn't matter where you finish, you're in. And then if you have a good weekend, and Romford did it a couple of years on the trot, where no one thought they would make it. They finished 6th or 7th. And then they have that really great weekend, and then they make finals weekend. So, yeah, I think it's a really good way of doing it. The group thing will be interesting. It clearly worked in the National Division last year, because that made for an incredibly, exciting little playoff thing of how that was all running. So that was really, really good. Right, well, there's a couple of bits going in there that we've covered. I'll give you another couple of minutes to put anything in the chat that you want to talk about. If not, I just wanted to leave sort of one final point for this weekend, because I've seen a lot of stuff online. As you all know, I'm quite busy on the old socials and whatnot, getting all this stuff out there to as many people as possible. Thursday is an incredibly poignant, historic day in this country. Voting, being part of a democracy in this country, is something that we're all very proud of, and it's something that a lot of people will have different opinions. Just remember, we are, as a community, the people that are watching this, the people that will listen to this, the people that are on my Twitter, your Twitter, we are all joined because we love hockey. Don't forget that. It doesn't matter if you're voting for whatever party you're voting for, and whatever your opinion is really on how this country should be run. Just remember that it doesn't actually define you as people. It's just your opinion. So there's always a lot of nasty stuff that goes on around this sort of time when this is going on. So yeah, just remember, people, keep it peaceful. It's just politics. It's got no place in sport. Sport's good enough without it. We're now into July. We are now counting down. We are 8 weeks, slightly under, away from our hockey season starting again. I will be sort of taking a little bit of a hiatus now until we are back. Unless there is anything massively breaking that needs my attention, I will be taking a little bit of a break. I am still producing the Stick Together podcast, which is exclusive for players that have played or are still playing in the UK. If you are one of the players, if you are still playing, or you have played in this country, head over to Facebook and search Retribe Stick Together Tribe. Join that group that Nick Rothwell has set up. It's a fantastic group of like-minded individuals, people that are still playing, people that have played. There's a massive support network there, and we are creating exclusive content to you, for you, where we are interviewing players that have played in this country from across a massive span of time. We've done River Rimshaw, who played at Cardiff Devils last year. We've just done Peter Hewitt as well, who's a Chelmsford Chieftains legend. Martin Janeway, he is on there very, very soon. So yeah, if you are a player, this is not for the fans, it's just for the players. Go and join that group, and that content is exclusive to you. It will come out publicly in a little while, but for the time being it is exclusive to the players. So you have to sort of answer the questions when you enter the group to make sure that you are a player, because that's what the group is for. It's for the players, by the players, for the players. Thank you once again for joining me. This has been a real thrill. I've really, really enjoyed doing it live. Like I said, possibly we might do it a little bit more regularly when the season starts, now that I've figured out how all of this stuff works. So we'll see you very, very soon. As I said, episodes wise, I will be taking a little bit of a hiatus, and I'll be coming back towards the start of the season, where we'll obviously do a bit of a roster update to see who everyone signed. I'll be running through and doing a preview of the entire season. Haven't quite made my mind up who'll be joining me for that yet. I might put a little vote out for you there, because me and Chris had a great time doing the comms and doing the review of the season. Obviously Mr. Russell has joined me a couple of times as well to do preview and review. So yeah, I might see who fancies it more. and to join me to do that. So don't forget to check out our partners that you can see down here. Hockey Art Co. You've got just over 3 hours left to use that July discount code and get 20% off. And the Blackout edition has just come out today. Really, really fantastic stuff. Manscaped, get your male grooming kits. 20% off, 0pucks20 to get your 20% discount from manscaped.com. Keep your boys trim for the summer. And the Sports Social Podcast Network, the largest sports podcast network in Europe, and we are absolutely delighted to be a part of it. Keep your eyes on the socials, because I will be posting our ZPG flashbacks as we go through the episodes from last year. Put out there just in case you missed it, really, because we got a hell of a lot of interviews with a lot of players, a lot of people involved in hockey. The last one that we've just posted, I think, was Chantel Eyre, who was our first female player that came on the podcast last season. Streatham Storm forward, had a pretty good season, ended up in the PlayOff relegation thing. That was something I was going to bring up, actually. I haven't spoken to Hayden today. The promotion relegation thing was put forward because in our last episode we said that that's an interesting point, is worth discussing. No one really fancied it. It's the problem is, I think, if you have a team that's been in one for quite some time and then all of a sudden they find themselves relegated, that could end up being game over, excuse me. So yeah, I think that's it's a conversation that was definitely worth having, but for the time being we remain franchised. So what's that been? 48 minutes. I think we'll give that a go for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben. This has been Zero Pucks Given. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Increase the peace.
Sports Social Podcast Network.